Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, from the MeidasTouch Network to you, your family, and everybody you are celebrating this incredible holiday with. Happy Thanksgiving. We here at the MeidasTouch Network are thankful for you. We're thankful for your resilience, just thinking about where we were last Thanksgiving and where we are now, your perseverance, never giving up, never caving, and helping us not just build this network, but help us build what's become a movement of independent media, replacing the corporate news that has capitulated and bent the knee. And we saw that all happening right last Thanksgiving, As we were at the tables, we saw one by one this media entity fall, this media personality fall, this newscaster fall, and together, with your help, here we are this Thanksgiving. I don't want to paint a totally rosy picture of where our country is right now, because our country structurally is in a very bad place. And for people throughout our country, we know that people are struggling right now. The one silver lining, if you will, I think, though, is that there's hope. There is hope for what the future can be without Trump, without MAGA. And I think that that hope was certainly not there last Thanksgiving. Last Thanksgiving, the country was in a better place under former President Biden, but I think hope felt lost because it was right after the November elections of 2024. Now, with the November elections of 2025, with the blue tsunami that swept across this country, with where we are now looking forward, united, standing shoulder to shoulder, no King's protest, shadow hearings, Democrats pushing back finally and fighting, leaders emerging. I think there's hope in the air this Thanksgiving. And so we are thankful for you. We are so grateful for everything that you do every day. And we've made this Thanksgiving episode for you. Rain or shine, holiday, no holiday, we're going to be here with you every step of the way. And for those who are now watching the MeidasTouch Network for the first time, because maybe one of our Meidas Mighty members convinced a family member to turn this on and say, give the MeidasTouch a try, I say welcome. And here on the MeidasTouch Network, we are unapologetically pro-democracy. We don't mince words. I love graphs and charts and data and statistics and footnotes, and we love going through court filings line by line so that we could actually show you the facts, the objective criteria out there. We love deep dives into history. We have international correspondence here on the network. We have Meidas Canada, led by Charlie Angus. And what's important to us is that we uplift marginalized communities. We stand on empathy. We stand for people's rights. We don't waver in those principles and those values that make this network what it is. And that's why we've grown. People power. Brett and Jordy, great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's great to see you as well, and it's great to see you, Meidas Mighty. And Ben, I do think it's important to reflect on this past year. I think that's an important point because from the ashes we build. You know, we don't just sit idly by. We don't sulk in our depression. We build, and we build a strong pro-democracy coalition, a strong pro-democracy news network that believes in the truth and disseminating that truth as far and wide as possible. So on this special edition Thanksgiving episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast, I do want to send my love and gratitude to all of you out there, to my brothers here, to all the Meidas Mighty, to everybody in this country who cares about democracy, and to everybody around the world in the pro-democracy coalition. We are so thankful for you, and thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for sharing the show with your family, because as you know, we are brothers here. It is always a pleasure to invite you to our metaphorical Thanksgiving table on special occasions like this, and every time we do the MeidasTouch Podcast, we like to kind of invite you into the discussions that our family is having about the most pressing topics of the day. So thank you for joining us. Jordy, happy Thanksgiving. How are you doing?
Happy Thanksgiving, brothers. Happy Thanksgiving, Meidas Mighty. Brett, I like that. You know what? Build back better there, B. Build back better. I'm super.
I'm not going to lie. I had to avoid trying to say that. I caught myself almost going there. I was like,
I'm super reflective on days like today. I really am. And I just want to start off and just say, thank you to this community. None of this is possible. None of this has been easy. But you all, the Meidas Mighty, this community, you guys have hung in there every step of the way. Through the good times, the bad times, the tough times, you all are relentless in the best possible way. And it's because, like us, you guys care. You care about this country. You care about what's happening, and you don't think it's right. And heck, you know it's not right. And so just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for continuing to fight alongside us. And I'm excited to keep this going. So happy Thanksgiving, y'all. You guys are truly the best. Benji, where are we starting off with today, big bro?
When we thought about building out this network, we never wanted to ground it in a specific kind of personality. That's why it's not the Ben Meiselas show or the Brett and Jordy show. We always wanted to ground it in the people, because this is people powered. And as this network has grown, it's been so important for us to elevate and amplify the voices of community organizers, the people who were leading the No Kings protests, the people whose voices don't often get heard on corporate news or cable news. We've always been amplifying the voices of the Epstein survivors before it was covered on the news the way it's been covered now, and rightfully so it's being covered now. But we've been on that beat and talking to the survivors for a very long time. We've been covering the shadow hearings. When corporate news was suppressing the protests, we would cover the protests. And so I think that's what's also led to the growth of this network. So I wanted to reflect on that. And I think as we sit here today on Thanksgiving, and I have an honorary seat for you at my Thanksgiving table, Meidas Mighty, I want to reflect on some normal times, a leader with dignity, and the Obama Library put out a compilation starting in, I think, 2009 of the messages, the Thanksgiving messages from former President Obama about Thanksgiving and what it means to him and what it means to his country. So just take a look at this compilation, because I think we start with this versus the kind of chaos. I want to show you what we can be once again. This is what America once was. Let's play it.
For centuries, in peace and in war, in prosperity and in adversity, Americans have paused at this time of year to gather with loved ones and give thanks for life's blessings. We'll spend some time taking stock of what we're thankful for: the God-given bounty of America and the blessings of one another. I'm thankful that my daughters get to grow up in this great country of ours. And I'm thankful for the chance to do my part, as together we make tomorrow better than today. We're also grateful that this country has always been home to Americans who see these blessings not simply as gifts to enjoy, but as opportunities to give back. We give thanks for the men and women who set sail for this land nearly 4 centuries ago, risking everything for the chance at a better life. And the people who are already here, our Native American brothers and sisters, for their generosity during that first Thanksgiving.
This is a season not only be thankful for the incredible blessings that we have, but also to remember the neediest and generously serve those who are not as fortunate.
It's easy to focus on what separates us, but as we gather with loved ones on this Thanksgiving, let's remember and be grateful for what binds us together. I'm thankful that I get to see the best of America every day. The courage of our troops and veterans, the resilience of our families, and the basic goodness of the ordinary people who call this country home. Thanks, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
And then I'll show you this, the tradition that we would normally see of a president of the United States on Thanksgiving is one of showing humility, right? The White House is not supposed to have golden ballrooms. It's just not the point. We don't have kings, right? I mean, the point of it is that it is a humble abode and that it doesn't have heavy military presence around it. It's a state. If we wanted to build a massive castle and a massive fortress, we can do that. Like, the United States has that capability to do it. There's a statement of simplicity, of humbleness, of walking soft, but carrying a big stick, not being obnoxious and loud and fraud, but ultimately being a paper tiger and weak, which is what this Trump regime is. And part of the humility and the symbolism connecting that the president is not above the people. The president is supposed to be with the people. Is on Thanksgiving, former presidents would show up in food banks or be with troops, and they would be serving food. Could you ever imagine an image of Donald Trump at a food bank serving people food? Or do you believe that Donald Trump thinks that that's something that he would never do? And he probably, well, why would I ever do that? So just take 15 seconds to watch right here. For our audio listeners, I'll describe what's happening. It's just former President Obama. He would do this basically every year of his term. He would show up at a food bank or show up at a center where veterans would be there. He would spend Thanksgiving with them, and he and his wife, former First Lady Michelle Obama, and his family would serve food. They would be the food servers. Let's play this clip. Right, you saw him serving food there to veterans. Brett and Jordy, that's who we were. And to me, that shouldn't be Democrat or Republican. And look, let me be very clear. I'm no Ronald Reagan fan. It's an understatement. I'm not a Reagan fan. But when I went to the Reagan Library in California, which was actually near the venue where I got married, I stopped there because it was close when we were looking at wedding venues. And I went in there and I was appreciative, though, that there was still a dignity in there. There was, statements about, a man who doesn't want credit is someone who is ultimately able to, achieve the most. There were quotes like that, and I'll go get the right quote. Versus, do we have what Donald Trump was saying? Do we have a clip of this, Brett, where he was calling Pritzker a fat slob before then Trump left and disappeared to Mar-a-Lago? I think we have a clip of that here. Let's play this clip.
Of every newspaper, it's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. He ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago safe. We're going to lose a great city if we don't do it quickly.
Yeah, the Reagan quote, I just found it because I have it on my my table behind me, so I should probably know what it says because I see it every day. There's no limit to what a man can do or where he can go if he doesn't mind who gets credit. There were quotes like that, and whether you say, he lived by that creed or didn't, whatever, but there was still a dignity there. Or Trump at that ceremony on Tuesday, his idea of a joke was talking about sending the turkeys to the concentration camp in El Salvador, where we know hundreds of migrants were unlawfully sent there and tortured and sexually assaulted. And he's up there saying, oh, we were going to send them to El Salvador. Here, I think we've got that clip.
But instead of pardons, some of my more enthusiastic staffers were already drafting the paperwork to ship Gobble and Waddle straight to the terrorist confinement center in El Salvador. And even those birds don't want to be there. You know what I mean? It was I'd like to thank the president.
Brett, Jordy.
Can you imagine the MeidasTouch podcast during the Obama years? What a great show that would be. I just want to say. But I think one of the things that are always is so mind-blowing to me is that these Trump voters and these Trump pundits who go on CNN and all of these networks, they live in an upside-down world, and they go, Barack Obama, most divisive president we've ever had. And I'm always like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what reality do you live in? But they live in some alternate reality where I guess they're forced fed this Fox News and this right-wing propaganda garbage. They regurgitate it and they buy into it and they believe this ridiculous narrative. Everyone on this side always, they always start asking, like, why is our politics so why is it so charged, and why are people at each other's throats, and why are people so hateful right now? And I'm like, Exhibit A, okay? Listen to Donald Trump. Literally anything he says, it comes from the top. That is exactly what we are seeing. It is no surprise that since Donald Trump appeared on the political scene, we are seeing all of this division. We are seeing all of this chaos, that people are suffering. There is a cause, and Donald Trump is just one of many reasons, obviously, because the whole party has been infected. But there is a clear delineation between kind of before Donald Trump and after Donald Trump, where we have seen this political system interrupt, where we have seen kind of the moral collapse of this country. But I think what we're seeing, one of the things at least, are that the cracks are finally beginning to form in this wretched MAGA movement. We are seeing people just so sick of the division, just so sick of the blame games, of everything. I mean, the shooting in DC with the National Guard members, I think it's indicative of what we've been seeing from these MAGA people, the rush to blame. How do I pin this on Democrats? I'm going to blame all migrants for this. How do I get a political advantage out of this horrific tragedy? Just like enough is enough. We are all Americans here. Let's stop this BS. Stop trying to clamp down on other people's rights. Stop with all the games. Stop treating people like crap, okay? Understand that there are people out there who are suffering, people out there who need assistance, who need help. Those aren't people that you kick while they are down. Those are people you're supposed to pull up and help. And that's the reason that politics exists, or that's the reason that politics are supposed to exist. That's the reason why people are supposed to get into the political arena, because they want to put their ideas forward for how to create a better society, for how to help the most amount of people possible. But I think we've lost sight of that in these past few years. And so I think that's what we're all here are trying to restore.
It's a great point, Brett. And, I think this is just going to be an episode of quotes, because when you were talking about how Donald Trump's attitude, how that sort of trickles down to the base, it reminds me of that "Remember the Titans" quote: "Attitude reflects leadership, Captain." And so when you have Donald Trump up there just dividing the country, calling for Democratic senators to be hung, calling them traitors, is a trickle-down effect that ultimately happens with his base, where that language just becomes so normalized to them. And you see it on social media, you hear it on the streets, quite frankly, and it's disgusting. Donald Trump says things at the podium that kids in middle school would be suspended for saying half the rhetoric, frankly, that he says. And so when he is the president of the United States, when that's the leader of the country, there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with the words and how you position things. And so, like, playing those clips the way we started the show of Obama and Trump, it's just the juxtaposition there is just couldn't be more, night and day. I long for a country where we have a leader as dignified as a President Obama, as someone who, can clearly speak to the American people in ways of hope, in ways of bettering this country, in ways where we all want to see this country continue to thrive and continue to grow, and not somebody like a Donald Trump who continues to divide this country every single day, every single time he steps up to a microphone, Ben.
I'll give you a quote from 1984.
Let's go. It's a quote off.
2 and 2 makes 5. And Brett, to your point, that seems to be how this Trump and MAGA interpret the world. They say it's 5, and we're out here saying, nah, it's 4. And then they try to use their propaganda machines to tell us, hey, it's 5. No, it's 4. Or I can give you this quote, Jordy, from Eugene Victor Debs. In every age, it has been the tyrant, the oppressor, and the exploiter who has wrapped himself in the cloak of patriotism or religion or both to deceive and overawe the people. It's not something that is actually unique to this time. It's unique to the United States of America, but the human experience is that of authoritarians utilizing these tactics. And why we always frame what's happening here in the United States as part of an international right-wing extremism, ultra-nationalist, anti-immigrant movement is because Trump's authoritarianism is linked with what we see in Russia with Putin, with Orban in Hungary, with Bukele in El Salvador, in movements like the Reform Party and Nigel Farage in the UK, in Le Pen's movement in France, where their far right-wing person is leading in the polls there, which is deeply problematic right now, who was the disciple of Le Pen, ideas that were rejected before. We see this tension exist, and, you know, we could have seen in Canada the conservatives who became kind of maple MAGA winning there. But Canada looked at what was happening in the U.S. this past year and said, no, we ain't doing that, okay? We see what's happening. Same thing could have happened in Australia. Their Liberal Party, there's actually their far-right Conservative Party. Their Labour Party is basically what we would consider to be a Liberal Party. And fortunately, Anthony Albanese, who's the Labour Party leader, won with a massive mandate there. And interestingly, in both Canada and in Australia, the individuals who were the leaders of the right-wing party lost in their own riding, basically what would be their version of a congressional district, although Pierre Poilievre, basically, who's in Canada, was basically stole the riding or the district of another right-wing person, and then he's out there spewing with a level of arrogance again when, dude, you lost. It'd be like, imagine like a Congress member losing and then taking somebody else's district and being like, what you talking about? It's all good. I'm still here. It's like, dude, you lost in your own district. Anyway, we'll take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot to discuss. I want to talk a little bit about the more we're learning about the identity of the shooter in Washington, D.C., who Trump granted asylum to in April of 2025. MeidasTouch was all over that right away. Reminder, now's a good time, if you can, to join the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. You're probably already a subscriber. If not, subscribe. But by joining and becoming a member, you help build this independent media platform. So click join right now. You can gift memberships now to family members at the Thanksgiving table as well. And you can, I'm not really sure how that would, but you can give memberships to people in the chat room. You can go on Substack at Meidas Plus and you can give memberships to people there. It's easier to do it that way. But on YouTube, you can gift others who are in this chat. And if your family member happens to be in a chat, they may be able to get one of those gifts. That's the way it works.
There you go.
And to actually outline how technical stuff works. I'll stick to politics, folks.
Yeah.
We'll take
let's stick to the politics.
In other words, just
leave
become
the tech to the tech guys.
If you can help us grow. Take our first break of the show.
True self-reliance starts with taking control of your own health. Armra Colostrum is nature's original solution. Colostrum is packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify gut health and strengthen immune health to build resilience at the cellular level. Because when you invest in your health, you invest in your ability to show up, think clearly, and stay in control no matter what life throws your way. Today's environment is filled with toxins, processed foods, modern stressors, and immune disruptors. Nourish your microbiome and strengthen your barriers to support your immune health. Armra Colostrum is your secret to feeling strong, vibrant, and confident again. Not seeing results with your current routine? Colostrum is packed with 400 plus bioactive nutrients that work like a blueprint for your body, promoting your cells' natural renewal processes to support skin, hair, gut health, metabolism, immune health, lean muscle, and whole body vitality. Strengthen your gut integrity and support healthy fat metabolism to empower your body with the blueprint to revitalize health from the inside out. We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/Meidas or enter Meidas to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's armra.com/Meidas. Big moments deserve less stress and more confidence. When ED shows up in the bedroom, Hims helps you keep your cool and focus on what matters most, the moment, not the worry. Through Hims, you can access personalized prescription treatment options for ED, like hard mints and Sex RX Plus Climax Control, if prescribed. Hims offers access to ED treatment options ranging from trusted generics that cost 95% less than brand names to hard mints, if prescribed. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hims brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. This isn't one-size-fits-all care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure you get what you need to get results. Think of Hims as your digital front door that gets you back to your old self with simple 100% online access to trusted treatments for ED and more, all in one place. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/Meidas. That's hims.com/Meidas for your free online visit. hims.com/Meidas. Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Look, starting a new business can be intimidating. I get it. MeidasTouch Network was not built overnight. You need the tools to help you engage in the day-to-day tasks, the growth. And so it's why we use Shopify. It made things easy for us. And I think you should use Shopify too. So Shopify is a commerce platform. It is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands like the MeidasTouch Network. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style, accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Even if you don't, easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling to the MeidasTouch Network. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert. And with its world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond, you can count on Shopify. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. So turn your big business idea into boom, boom, boom with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Meidas. Go to shopify.com/Meidas. One more time. That's shopify.com/Meidas.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know he sent you. Benji, where to next?
Give you some more 1984 quotes.
I was gonna say, do you have any more quotes for us? But I didn't want to put you on the spot and like get you all nervous that you didn't have it. I knew you wouldn't let us down.
I really would not get all nervous if you put me on the spot. I was just the person telling you could gift memberships on YouTube to the person sitting next to you. So don't think for a moment that I have that level of humiliation. Let's take a look at this 1984 quote. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Many ways you can think, because the authoritarian mindset has been studied before. And this is why Donald Trump wants to erase what happened on January 6th insurrection. It's why he wants to claim that he won the 2020 election and always says it's rigged. He wants to control the past by controlling the present. And the good news is I think the resistance has grown so strong that he's not able to do that. And he's getting flustered and frustrated and he's panicking now. Of course, everybody knows this quote: war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Doesn't that describe the Trump regime kind of perfectly right there? And doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting both of them. In the Trump regime, they call it alternative facts, but they have their own word for basically doublespeak. All right, maybe we'll do more after the next segment. But what I want to share with you right now is to talk about the doublespeak, the lies from the regime. You know, they bring out people like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and he'll go out and he'll say, look, inflation is gone. Thanksgiving is cheaper. You're in a golden age. Victory. Here, play this clip.
The Biden administration was, especially working Americans, real wages got decimated. The inflation rate was up 22%, but the average basket of goods and services that a working family bought was up in the 30s. So we have brought down inflation. Inflation came down in April for the first time in 4 years under President Trump. So the first thing to do was to bring down the rate of change. We're going to to continue to bring it down. Energy prices are down. You might have seen yesterday Walmart came out and said that the Thanksgiving meal's 25% less.
Everything he said was false. Quite literally every word in that was false. Thanksgiving is more expensive. The price of turkey is more expensive. The price of everything essentially is more expensive. Like, if we want to have an objective analysis here, you can say, well, gas prices are down. Yeah, they're down about a penny, maybe 2 pennies, maybe, basically about the same. But you want to say, but everything else is more expensive. Energy prices, electricity prices, everything else is far more expensive.
The Thanksgiving lie is just so blatant because everybody knows when they go to the store. And I actually saw Trump people now responding to these clips of Scott Bessent and responding to Donald Trump's post, even on his own Truth Social platform that we monitor, saying like, what are you talking about? You know, Mr. Trump, whatever they call him. What are you talking about? Last year I paid $200. This year I paid $350. They're like posting their receipts because you can't lie to people about something they're experiencing in their daily lives. We know from the data that turkeys are at least 25% more costly this year than last year, and the prices that consumers are spending and wholesalers, I think, are spending like 75% more on turkey. And that's the centerpiece of most Thanksgiving meals. Then you add everything else in, and then they keep going back to that Walmart lie, which has been debunked over and over and over again, where they replaced the actual items in the Thanksgiving package that they sell with generic items, and then removed more than a quarter of the items in the package. So yes, it's a little cheaper than last year because they removed all the premium items and actually removed them and replaced the others with the generics. So it's like, enough of the gaslighting. This whole regime is all gaslighting and lies. Like, accept responsibility and tell the American people how you plan on fixing these problems.
It was like 6 items they removed from that, and which is why it ultimately brought the price slightly down there. But that's what this is, and that's what we say too. It's like the lies are so stupid. Like, the lies are such an FU to the base, like to his base, because and to the American people, obviously, but especially to his base, because he just wants them to go ahead and parrot the talking points that he's giving them. But quite frankly, once you get the literal receipt, you get a bit frustrated, Donnie. Even your base is fed up because the money's literally coming out of their accounts. They have literal receipts that prices aren't going down, that inflation's not even close to being fixed, and you're not doing a damn thing about it other than just giving them fake talking points to go ahead and parrot. Talking points don't pay the bills, Ben.
You know, the best way to describe it, you know, is on last year's Walmart list, they listed, and I'm making this up, 3 Mercedes, right? 3 Mercedes S-classes were listed on this one. This year, they list 1 used Toyota. And they go, okay, look, the price went down. Look at what it was last year. And now there's 1 used Toyota from 1993. Look, we did it. We reduced inflation. So then when, whether it's Democrats or rational thinking people go, because they're now putting the used Toyota, then the latest attack is, oh, what? You think people shouldn't drive used Toyotas? Are you mocking our base that they shouldn't drive the used? It's like, no, you're a sociopath. That's not what we're saying. People can drive a used Toyota. Absolutely. That's great. There's no problem with that. But stop telling me that it was one thing the other year and it's one thing this year. The bottom line is that they happen to be using brand names last year. That's just a fact, and had 21 items. That's it. We're just giving you the objective fact that in order to get a lower number, you've altered the calculation. Going back to those 1984 quotes, you've altered the reality, and now you're presenting that as making things cheaper. And it's not. No one's saying that. I buy generic goods all the time. I go to the supermarket, I look at it, and I go, this tastes the same, it looks the same. That's great. There's no one's judging somebody for doing that. We're judging the Trump regime for lying to us about the prices. You know, that's the issue here. But let's talk about how the American people feel about all of this, and are they buying what is being sold right here? You know, I actually thought these breakdowns by Enton over the past week have been brutal to the Trump regime, and he's done pretty good summaries of just the various polling out there. So let me start with this one where Enton talks about how if people are buying what the regime is selling, how people feel about prices, if they believe it's going up or down. Here, play this clip.
Data analyst Harry Enton is here on this special Friday. It's been a tough few days for the president in the polls.
Yeah, John Berman, I would say this is probably the worst 10-day period for the president in the polls his entire second term. The numbers are just atrocious. What are we talking about here in terms of net approval rating? Well, take a look. These are all November polls. The best one of the group puts him at 14 points underwater. That's the Marquette University Law School poll, tied for the worst he's ever had in that poll. Fox, 17 points underwater. Marist, 17 points underwater. The Reuters Ipsos poll, 22 points underwater. And then taking the cake, the AP North poll, 26 points underwater. When your best poll has you still 14 points underwater, you know it's truly bad, and it's as bad as 26 points underwater. We're talking about an average well underwater with the deep blue sea, swimming with the fishes.
And now,
I mean, just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%. Utilities, 78%. Healthcare, 67%. Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%. The bottom line is this. Americans feel like prices are rising in each and every single part of their lives, rising ever climber, and they just don't feel like, Kate Baldwin, that they can catch a break.
The Treasury.
You know, this is a poll that came out yesterday, Marquette University Law School poll, and I don't think it picked up enough coverage that it should have, because these numbers should be truly frightening to Republicans. Why do I point it out? Why do I say that? Okay, Dems versus Republicans on the generic congressional ballot. If you look at all voters, this matches the average. You see Democrats up by 5 points. Okay, that's not a bad position, but it's not as strong as they were in the 2018 cycle at this point. But come over to this side of the screen. This is where it gets truly frightening for the GOP, because among those certain to vote, look at this. The Democratic advantage nearly doubles. We're talking about a 9-point advantage going from 5 to 9 points. And this matches with what we're seeing in other polls, which is huge Democratic enthusiasm, huge. And more than that, remember, elections are not just about persuasion. They're about turnout as well. And what this suggests is Democrats are far more likely to turn out at this point. A 9-point advantage going from 5 to 9. That is A+, 2 thumbs up. Great news for Democrats.
the Latino vote, what are we seeing among the polls there?
Yeah, what are we seeing? You know, one of the big shifts in 2024 from 2020 was that shift towards Donald Trump, right? Immigration played a key role in that. I want to start off with Latinos on Trump and immigration. You know, back a year ago, what did we see on the issue of immigration? Latino voters trusted Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump, but by just 2 points. 1, 2. Look now at Donald Trump's net approval rating on immigration among Latinos. He is 38 points underwater. That is a 36-point shift, essentially, from where we were a year ago on immigration. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are basically tied on the issue of immigration. And now on the issue of immigration, Latinos despise, hate Donald Trump. 38 points underwater. In their mind, he is doing something absolutely wrong when it comes to immigration.
What about the Latino?
That guy's a funny guy. You know, they despise, they hate him. Did you see the one where he like jumped?
Yeah. For the audio listeners, there was one, he went airborne in one of those clips. Like I've never seen.
I know you guys don't usually like him.
About him that bother me sometimes, just in full disclosure.
Right.
But I do appreciate people who seem to enjoy their jobs, like whatever. Like he does seem to have a level of enthusiasm for
I appreciate his enthusiasm. I appreciate his New York accent. And I appreciate his energy and his jumping. What annoys me sometimes is when what he'll always do is he'll try to follow up like a poll that's blatantly bad for Donald Trump by cherry picking some random piece of data, or like the thing that infuriates me the most is the betting odds. He will highlight betting odds from those online betting platforms as if they are actual polling data or any sort of real information other than what people are just betting on the internet. And that is when he loses me, but for the sake of this, that was a great montage.
Wait, I want to add to this. I gotta. I've always liked the guy. Like I just think he's
like Denton.
I do. I just think he's a total.
Oh, you've never shared this in our texts.
And I like Beth here. Like he does seem like he genuinely enjoys what he does, which is very rare. And that New York accent, dude. As fellow New Yorkers, it just cracks me up how thick that is. I mean, I say this in the most endearing way possible, and the fact that we are Jewish. I knew 30 Jewish Long Island moms that speak just like him, and I enjoy it.
I want to show this though, just pivoting gears for a moment, because there's two other.
By the way, I haven't even looked up where he's from or what he is, but I could tell you for sure he's a Jewish New Yorker. Like I'm 100% sure of it without even Googling it, and somebody could confirm it, or I'll look it up, when I get a break. But
when Donald Trump was leaving Washington D.C. to go to Mar-a-Lago, he was asked by the press in Air Force One or on Air Force One, are you planning to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies? Right, this is on a lot of people's minds right now at the Thanksgiving table. Will the subsidies be extended? Because we're seeing massive drop-offs on the state ACA Affordable Care Act exchanges right now. People aren't buying these insurance plans because of the price. And so the deadline is December 31st, but the plans are, people have already gotten their notices, so you see how expensive they are to buy plans right now on the exchanges. It's exactly what we and Democratic leaders and people who just care about facts have been saying. It's significantly higher. It's basically unaffordable. Trump acted like he was going to extend the subsidies and announce that in the Oval Office, but then the MAGA Republicans in the House said, if you do that, there's going to be even more mass resignations from the kind of more far right-wing MAGA versus just the far right-wing MAGA who call themselves centrists. And the centrists want to resign right now because the Affordable Care Act subsidies are not being extended. And they're not centrist, let me just be clear, but the people who believe they are, because they think they're going to lose in their districts and get wiped out based on the ACA subsidies not being extended. So you have this civil war going on. And Trump was asked in Air Force One, are you planning to extend those subsidies? I'd rather not. Just like, what a sick thing to say. I'd rather not. Okay, well then, what's your plan? What is your plan? I'll just show you all this video right here. This is from July 19th, 2020. A Trump, I could show you 1,000 clips like this, but I'm just going to show you this one as illustrative. But just trust me, there's 1,000 others like this, maybe more than 1,000 others. I'm just picking this one because it's clear, it's cogent, it's concise, it makes my point. July 19th, 2020. Let's just play this clip of Trump talking about his healthcare plan during his first term. This is 2020, let's be clear.
I want to talk to you about Obamacare. Since the pandemic hit, millions of people have lost their jobs and thereby lost their health insurance. And almost 500,000 have signed up for Obamacare. Your administration just announced that you're signing on to a lawsuit to overturn Obamacare.
And replace it.
Why does it make sense to overturn Obamacare, with which people now are relying on? Democrats are going to say the man who's wanted to kill Obamacare is going to take away the protection for pre-existing conditions.
First of all, we got rid of the individual mandate. Pre-existing conditions will always be taken care of by me and Republicans, 100%.
But you've been in office 3.5 years. You don't have a plan.
Well, we haven't had. Excuse me. You heard me yesterday. We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks. A full and complete healthcare plan that the Supreme Court decision on DACA gave me the right to do.
Okay, so how is that not disqualifying? And I mean this sincerely. Like, why is it that he's judged on a whole different scale? Like, why? That's what he said in 2020, 2 weeks. And by the way, he wasn't talking about in 2 weeks we're going to, I don't know, come up with some plan that's not on something that's life or death for human beings. In 2 weeks, I'm going to come up with a new plan to encourage you name the topic, people to watch less video games or play less video games or watch less TV and exercise more. Which, by the way, people I'd still want to hold somebody to their word, right? We want to come up with a plan to just help people, get off have their kids spend less time on the iPad. Very important. I'd still hold you accountable to that. And let's just say you don't do that. Well, it's one thing, but it's still bad. You're lying about rolling out a healthcare plan for like years and years and years. And this lends to the psychological torture that people feel because of this regime. It's a form of abuse psychological abuse, post-traumatic stress that because he says he's going to do things, just even the COVID, in 2 weeks, it's all going to go away. No, in 24 hours, it's never going to hit our shores. Like a miracle, it's going to disappear. And then it doesn't. It's just like the guy is a freaking liar. Stop even viewing it through the lens of politics. It's just view it as he's a bad person. He's an evil person. He's been a lifelong con artist, a lifelong fraud, a lifelong criminal, a lifelong sexual abuser. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Right? Like that's just what bad people do. Like we don't have to sometimes look for it. Oh, I wonder. No. He's bad to his core. At the very deepest recesses, he is a shit human being who has caused his whole life hurting people. And that's what's got him off, hurting humans. And that's what he wants to do. A bad person. Sadly, in our world, there are bad people, and he's the baddest of the bad human. And that's an example right there. And that's it. He's a con artist. That's it. Liar, horrible person. And that's what we need to move beyond. We can't normalize that. We need people with dignity being leaders, Democrats or Republicans or independents or some other party that forms in the future. I just want people with dignity who actually respect our Constitution, who respect the laws, who are humble, who appreciate empathy and don't want to destroy it, who uplift marginalized communities, not punch down, who show respect, and someone who I can tell my kid, this should be a role model. That's what I want as a leader in a very nonpartisan way. That's the most basic criteria. All right, let's take our last quick break of the show, and then we'll be right back with much more. Remember, join if you can. Become a member right now of our YouTube channel. Also, check out the Substack, MeidasPlus.com. Subscribe on audio to the MeidasTouch Podcast. If you're a YouTube listener, leave a 5-star review on the audio podcast. That helps our audio numbers a lot in the audio algorithm. So even if you're like, I prefer it on YouTube, do us a solid on Thanksgiving. It helps. Subscribe on audio and leave a 5-star review. It'll take you literally 90 seconds probably to do both, and it goes a long way to help us out. All right, last break of the show.
All right, look, jeans and I have had a lifelong feud. Every pair I've owned has either crushed my soul, been too long, too short, too tight, crushed my everything. But then I tried the perfect jean, and I'm not kidding, I had a full emotional moment. These things are as soft as a baby's bottom. They stretch like yoga pants and somehow still make me look like I actually planned my outfit. Ordering jeans online usually feels like a gamble, but these showed up, I put them on, and I immediately understood why over 30,000 dudes gave them 5-star reviews. They fit right, they move with you, bending over, lifting things, running errands, going on a date where you actually want to look like you tried. And the price, I used to pay like $150 or $200 for denim that fought me back. These are $79.99 and feel better than anything I've ever worn. Total game changer. I love the stretch. I love the comfort. I love how I look in them. And yes, I would absolutely wholeheartedly recommend the perfect jean to anyone. These are jeans made for real bodies, not mannequins. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use code MeidasTouch for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code Meidas15. MEIDAS15. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Forget your khakis and get the perfect jean. Seriously, go grab a pair. Your legs, your style, and yes, all your parts will thank you.
Ever have one of those moments where your body reminds you it's not 25 anymore? Maybe it's the slower recovery after a workout or the way your joints creak like an old floorboard. And don't get me started on how much worse it is in the winter. It's like my energy goes into hibernation. Aging is a reality for all of us, but our actions determine how we age. That's why I use Qualia Senolytic to help keep my cells healthy and my body feeling youthful. Zombie cells are real and they're aging you. These senescent cells stop being useful, but stick around, draining your energy, slowing recovery, and making you feel older than you are. Qualia Senolytic helps your body fight back against aging. It's a powerful, clinically tested formula with 9 vegan, plant-derived compounds that support your body's natural ability to eliminate zombie cells, so you can feel sharper, stronger, and more energized. Take it just 2 days a month. That's all it takes. Take Qualia Senolytic for just 2 days a month and start aging better at the cellular level. After adding Qualia Senolytic to my routine, I noticed a real difference. My energy feels steadier, recovery is quicker, and mentally I'm more dialed in. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. And just to close the loop on this, Harry Enton, he was born and raised in Riverdale, neighborhood of the Bronx, New York City. So we nailed that one, B. Nailed it.
Ding, 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 ding.
Benji, where to next?
Toss it off to Brett, because Brett, I know you were anxious after I showed some of those clips to get a word in about, again, Trump on the airplane, leaving DC, saying, I hope not, regarding extending the subsidies and not having a plan at all. I did a video, I'm not sure if we'll release it today or tomorrow, of MAGA Mike, where I went back and talked about where MAGA Mike promised at the end of the government shutdown that he had a plan. You remember all of those interviews that MAGA Mike was doing? He goes, the only thing preventing us from showing you the plan, because it's super secret, is once the shutdown ends, we'll put out the plan right away, is what he said. And then they didn't. And it's just like, enough of that. Shouldn't be, again, a Democrat or a Republican or an independent thing. That's horrible behavior by these people, by these wicked, evil, bad people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a policy choice. It's a clear policy choice what's going on with people's healthcare right now. You could either support people and make sure that they don't go bankrupt due to medical bills, or you could not support them and have people suffer and likely die because they can't afford to pay their medical bills. And Republicans are constantly basically torturing people and threatening people. And you see that with Donald Trump. Like, I don't want to extend the subsidies. I don't care what you want or don't want to do. You have to extend the subsidies. People are going to suffer if we don't. If you want to put forward a plan that replaces our current insurance system, I believe with a universal healthcare plan would be the way to go about this. And I do think that the government should be supporting healthcare here in the United States. We spend more on healthcare in this country for worse outcomes, and we have these insurance companies as the middlemen, which many countries do not. Many countries guarantee universal healthcare for all of their citizens. If you want to talk about how we want to get to that sort of system, I am all ears. But we're also living in the reality of our current system and the laws that are in place right now to make things more affordable. And Republicans simply want to chip away at those laws because they were created by a Democrat, because they were created by their arch nemesis, Barack Obama, who, going back to what I said in the beginning of this episode, they view as the most divisive president in history, which is the craziest freaking concept in the world and shows what these MAGA mush brains are all about. But we have the system. We have something set in place. There's a very simple fix for it. But Donald Trump would rather send billions and billions of dollars to foreign countries. He'd rather prop up Argentina's failed economy than help the American people. And I'm just like sick of all the gaslighting. In every respect, we just see gaslighting, we see attacking, but we're not seeing any solutions from this party. It goes back to what Jordy was saying in the last episode, that these people love to complain. The Republicans, MAGA Trump, they love whining, they love complaining, they love riling people up, but they actually have no solutions to solve really complex issues. They just want to complain about any of the ideas that other people have. But put your ideas forward. Let's hear them out. But we know what their ideas actually are. Their ideas are to strip people off their healthcare coverage. Their ideas are to give insurance companies all of the power, to allow them to deny people who have pre-existing conditions, to allow people to simply die. And I am not okay with that. And there's a reason why they don't say that out loud, at least most of the time, because they don't want people to realize that that is exactly what their plan is.
Such a good point. Isn't it striking on a separate note when you watch clips of Donald, like that Chris Wallace interview from 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, that we played right before the break when Trump said that he was going to sign this comprehensive health care bill in 2 weeks in 2020. It's striking when you play videos of him then, and don't get me wrong, it does not seem all there back in 2020, but then you play videos of him today in 2025. And then, you go back to the videos in 2016 and 2017 that we play often too, and just to show the divisive rhetoric that he, brings out. I mean, it should really concern everyone just how quickly he's declined mentally and physically. And I'm not saying this to just like be hyperbolic, but when he gets a question these days, he doesn't oftentimes even attempt to answer it in any sort of form. He's just kind of out there spewing nonsense and divisiveness for the sake of it. But I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, just think he doesn't fully comprehend anymore the questions that he's being asked.
On a few points there. Number one, he's recently said that he got an MRI after he was forced to admit it, but he doesn't know what part of his body he claims that the MRI is on. Saying that you don't know what part of the body the MRI was done on in many ways is probably even scarier than the fact that he's got the MRI in the first place. You know what part of your body an MRI was performed on. If you've ever been in got an MRI before, I've gotten an MRI before, you definitely know. It was a very serious experience, for anybody who's gotten an MRI. So the fact that the president of the United States says, I don't know the body part, all of it, and it was great and the greatest MRI ever. Again, to me, that's another very disqualifying thing. You talk about healthcare. Back in May, Donald Trump signed an executive order where he promised the American people that prescription drug prices would now be sold in the United States at a most favored nation level, a MFN clause. He said that he got insurance companies to buy into, meaning most favored nation, it's a contract term, that America would now be buying the government from insurance companies and making it accessible to the people at the lowest price. That not the insurance companies, from the pharmaceutical companies that sell the drugs. At the lowest price, those pharmaceutical companies sell those drugs in another country. So if a pharmaceutical company sells drug A in Canada for $1, most favored nations would mean then that same pharmaceutical company has to sell it in the United States for $1. That's never happened. He promised that was going to take place in May. Then he moved on and said, 1,600%, 1,700% reductions as well. And that hasn't happened, right? That would mean that they would be paying us money. So yet another lie right there. He's, of course, never rolled out a plan. And then finally, when Donald Trump says, or MAGA says, that former President Barack Obama was the most divisive president in history, what they really are trying to say and what they mean to say is that he was the blackest president in history. And this is primarily based on racism towards former President Obama, who did a very good job. And that's what they mean by divisive. The fact that you had former President Obama, someone who accomplished so much, who did it with ease and with compassion and empathy, that drives racists crazy. Donald Trump is a racist, and Donald Trump's policies are based on his racism, his hatred, and they're willing to rip away healthcare or anything that has Obama's name on it because of that. Now, just even take a quick look at what happened in the G20. We've covered this at length, where Trump has boycotted the G20 in South Africa that just took place. It's the first time it's on the African continent. You had a black leader in President Ramaphosa of South Africa, who led this. President Lula of Brazil led it last year. Before that, you had President Modi of India lead it. The U.S. boycotted it. And then they wanted to send some low-level diplomat, who Trump says is a senior-level diplomat, to show up for the ceremony where the gavel is passed from Ramaphosa to the United States, because the United States is hosting the G20 next year. And the G20 leaders, including Ramaphosa, said, no, you didn't show up. We're not going to allow someone who's not a leader of the country to be on the stage with us. These are the leaders of every country at the G20. They don't send a random representative, or an intern or whoever to be there. These are the presidents and prime ministers and leaders of the countries on the stage. You're not going to just send somebody that's so disrespectful to the G20. So what South Africa said is, look, we'll pass it on privately, and you can still do the G20. We're just not going to pass it on to someone who's not the head of state, someone who's not the leader of the country. So then Donald Trump posted, well, we're not inviting South Africa to the G20 next year in the United States, that they can't show up. And we're not going to do give any help to South Africa in the future. See you later, South Africa. You're banned from the G20. And Trump made a post like that. And I know with all the craziness of Trump, that doesn't get a lot of attention, but he's claiming that he's banning South Africa from showing up to the G20. You realize BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and South Africa has a lot of there's a lot of reasons to trade with South Africa. There's a lot of things to do, as part of a trading relationship. Canada made a great deal with South Africa right away. And it's like, what the hell are we even doing here? And finally, that just brings me to the last topic. And we've covered this a lot here on the MeidasTouch Network. So I'm not going to spend so much time because we've done so many videos on it. First off, our hearts go out to those National Guards members in Washington, D.C. who were shot, who have suffered unthinkable, and their families. These are National Guards members from West Virginia, and, horrific, despicable act where this individual who we're now learning more about this person's identity, Ramanullah Lakanwal, Afghan national, was working basically with the CIA in Afghanistan. This person's like 10 years in the Afghan army, worked alongside the CIA on a lot of very serious missions over there. And then obviously after Trump made the deal surrendering to the Taliban and Biden withdrew, people who were helping the military were brought back to the United States because they would have otherwise gotten killed. And this person spent 10 years working with like the CIA. This guy spent years working with the military and on all of their missions. So he came here in 2021. He was vetted, no signs of terroristic thoughts or anything like that. He lived in Washington and applied for asylum in December and was granted asylum by Trump in April of 2025. Trump gave this guy asylum. I don't know if his emails or anything showed radicalization. We don't know that yet. What we do know, though, is that Trump gutted our counterterrorism division within the FBI. It's basically non-existent, doesn't exist, right? Trump appointed a 22-year-old guy with no FBI experience or counterterrorism experience named Thomas Fugate. 22-year-old. He was a gardener. He was a Trump fan, supporter of Trump. And they just picked this. Like if you made this the script of a movie, I'm trying to think of those movies I watched when I was like 8 years old, were like Blank Check, right? Where the kid gets like $1 million check. I think he lived in Indiana and he like bought like a castle and all these things that I don't know. So I remember like those silly movies, like imagine if you were made the head of the FBI counterterrorism with no experience. Like, okay, but this is real and it's deeply serious, right? Because all of our main counterterrorism people have been pushed out. They no longer work at the FBI. And you got this 22-year-old running it. What the hell knows what he's doing? And the FBI warned that their capabilities had been destroyed. And I can't say for sure, is that one of the reasons that led to this, that they weren't able to detect these types of things? All I can tell you is that our let's just go to undisputed facts and we'll leave it at this. Our counterterrorism at the FBI and Joint Counterterrorism Task Force here have been destroyed by the Trump regime. That's an undisputed fact. The other undisputed fact is Trump granted this individual asylum in April of 2025, and now they don't want to admit it. So Kash Patel is asked at a press conference, can you clarify the timeline? Because Kristi Noem had to admit that, yes, they gave asylum in 2025. So when Kash Patel was asked, can you tell us? Can you confirm that? He goes, you're going to have to ask Kristi Noem. Here, play this clip.
And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves.
When he was granted asylum, if you could just clarify that timeline. And
yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer to them.
I believe Kristi Noem put that out. You're the FBI director. You're giving the briefing. You're in front of the camera. you should reach out and you should answer, because that's literally your job as the FBI director. But that's what we see over and over again from this regime. And so I'll leave it at that. I think everybody gets the point. So Brett, let me pass it over to you, but let me give my last evening thank you. Thank you all so much. I'm grateful for you. I'm appreciative of you. Happy Thanksgiving. We really appreciate you. Subscribe here, subscribe on audio, leave a 5-star review on audio, and become a member of this YouTube channel if you can. It really helps grow this platform, and you can gift memberships to others. That's what I want to say, Brett.
Yeah, I think I just want to say, watching that Kash Patel clip, it just, it's just yet another reminder that this is an administration that doesn't care about giving the facts. They don't care about the truth. They're trying to run a constant propaganda op, a constant psyop on the American people. We saw this as the shooting was happening. We saw all the MAGA influencers, all the Fox News talking heads, all of those people try to rush to figure out what's the story now? Who are we blaming? Oh, who's Donald Trump's latest target? Mark Kelly. Oh, it's Mark Kelly's fault because Mark Kelly told the troops that they should obey their oath. So somehow it's Mark Kelly's fault that this person got shot. Mark Kelly. Let's put him on trial. And then you saw the narrative just keep shifting. They kept kind of moving their target. Okay, maybe if that wasn't it, maybe it was this person. Maybe it was all Democrats. Maybe it's all Democrats who speak out against Trump. It's President Biden. And it's the issue that we have when we have an administration that's completely devoid of the facts. But I'll just say on this Thanksgiving, I think it's good that we're finally seeing, though, that I think those attempts to propagandize the public are not working, as we saw in that montage of clips from Harry Enten, as the polls are showing, as I think we're all kind of feeling the vibe shift as well in general, especially since those elections. I think we're finally seeing things head in the right direction in this country, where people want to get back to normalcy. People want to get back to the fundamental values of this country, and people are increasingly rejecting this MAGA chaos, the MAGA division, this whole rage machine that they have built. And so let's keep it going. I want to thank this community so much for being a huge part of that. You just being here. I mean, hey, you're here right now on Thanksgiving watching us, maybe alone, maybe with your families, whatever it is. We're so grateful. If you're new watching this episode, welcome. I hope you continue to watch. We do these long form podcasts on YouTube as the MeidasTouch Podcast every Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then it goes on the audio feed on the MeidasTouch Podcast the day after. And then in between, that we are doing tons of episodes every single day, bringing you all of the breaking news, trying never to miss a major story. So check us out on YouTube. Check out the MeidasTouch Podcast feed for daily recaps. Make sure you check us out on Substack at MeidasPlus.com. We're so grateful for all your support. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for spending this day with our family here, and our hearts go out to everybody out there. We are so, so, so thankful. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty! Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.